there were those on this panel who didn't believe that this resurrection could have occurred. So if this can happen, things are possible in politics if you're willing to change and willing to have courage and determination. And whatever Democrats or anybody want to say about this guy who's been elected our president, he personifies that courage and determination and persistence. So I think, Trey, you were asking a serious question, and Britt gave a very serious answer. I think that's going to be part of the answer. And we've got to look long and hard about whether or not the way we campaign sometimes with identity politics, then at the end, is that the right way to do it? But before you get there, you got to get a purpose and a message. And we'll get there. We've got a long history of figuring these things out as a nation, as a party, and we'll figure it out this time.
So the Carnage speech got a lot of attention at the inauguration. Do we think that this speech,
I was going way back.
We're actually told that the teleprompters have been removed from the stage, so we could be in for a long haul here. We don't know. But what do you think? You know, he's coming, but there may not be teleprompters.
He goes off the teleprompter anyway, but he, the other night at the Al Smith dinner, he was upset that there were teleprompters, because he doesn't want to use them. So.
Right. So, Dana, what does this speech look like?
This one right now?
Yeah.
I think look, I don't know. He's one of the most unpredictable people, too. So I think that's why we're all here, and I'm wide awake, and I've been awake for almost 24 hours now. And I am curious to see. I think I wasn't just thinking about this speech. I'm thinking about the inauguration speech, which would be 8 years since Carnage speech. He has a wide range of the types of speeches that he can give. If you think even within a speech, there's range. If you think about the RNC convention, it started off with like, oh, wow, yeah. And then after a while, it was like, wow, he's still talking. It was like so long, and it kind of got off script, and people thought, oh, he kind of lost opportunity. But he didn't. I think if you look at these people who would take off work, drive somewhere in the middle of the night to go and get in line, to wait for hours, to then stay at a rally for hours, and part of the things he has done as well is created this camaraderie amongst people so that you could go to a place where you're not afraid to wear your red MAGA hat, and you could say, I'm not the crazy one. I'm not the only one who thinks the way that I do. I can actually have friends, and that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be outreach to the other side. I believe in love thy neighbor. I love all of that. But he has created something special here, so I kind of want him to take a victory lap tonight. I don't think this is necessarily the moment for unity, especially when she won't even concede and give him the night to celebrate.
Kellyanne, you were looking at the popular vote. He's still up, and could finish up.
And part of it is because he did run up the totals in places I was looking at, even the rural counties in Pennsylvania. He was going to win them by significant double digits, but he won them that much more. I think running up the totals in Florida, which was a swing state not that long ago, over 1.1 million votes or so. Haley, right, your home state. And this is, look, I think that when the Democrats take a look at this candidacy, it's not going to be that she had too much time, not enough time. She's just a flawed candidate. She doesn't speak well. She doesn't work hard. I'm not being mean or partisan. I don't know why the country would have rewarded this candidate with the big job when she couldn't make the case what she does as vice president that affects our lives in a positive way. She was given that opportunity. I personally would like to thank the women of The View tonight for asking this question, for having her on. Oprah, we see you, and so on and so forth. People who thought they were doing her a favor because they made her something she's not. It's the opposite for Trump. They make him something he's not. Take that one word, take that one line, take that cherry pick this, that, the other. You never get the essence. I go back, does everybody remember 5 years ago, so Laurel and Yanny, or what color dress? You hear Laurel, I hear Yanny. You see the blue dress, I see yellow dress. We were all looking at the same thing. That's the way Donald Trump is in this country. There are people who look exactly the same person, and they see two different vistas. I think it's time that we try to see one. Look, I don't know who said it earlier. I'm a little worried about the reaction of the Democrats and the common people here. I'm very worried. I think that there are a lot of unhinged people across the political spectrum, and we gave very little quarter to how many anti-Kamala voters are out there. I don't want to hear the words racism and sexism. It's eyesight and hearing. We were listening and watching her, and I'm very worried that we've not talked a lot about how violent people may be and angry because she lost.
Right.
I'm afraid of that.
Right. I mean, I can just imagine thinking about The View, and a week or so ago, they were saying, you know, what is wrong with someone who would vote for him?
Michelle Obama said.
And Joe Scarborough saying, you know, we weren't raised like this. Who raised these people? So I can only imagine what tomorrow is going to look like.
You know, I will say when we talk about The View, you know, what comes to mind is we mentioned the carnage speech that President Trump gave at his inauguration. And my mind automatically went to the unity speech that Biden gave, and he mentioned unity a half dozen times. But when you think about what we got over 4 years, there was the garbage comment that didn't come in isolation. There were all kinds of comments. Neanderthal was one of the first words he used to describe those who opposed his COVID edicts. The Mark Cuban comment, he was an official surrogate of the Kamala campaign. And for, you know, as mean as some of President Donald Trump's tweets have been and people have problems with it, one thing I've challenged Democrats to find is one example of him disparaging the country, half of the country, and that's something he has not done. And so I expect you'll hear a unifying tone, and I expect you're going to see a very successful presidency and one untethered maybe from some of the things that were holding him back. What comes to mind is an Oval Office meeting that we had where Dr. Fauci was urging him not to open the country. And I watched President Trump fight vociferously, saying people are losing their jobs. We must open the country. He wanted to do it sooner than he did. I think that Donald Trump, who goes with his instincts, is going to be a Trump that ultimately leads a very successful country in second term.
You know, Martha, Joe Biden mentioned the word unity more in his inaugural address than any president, I think, except one. If he's serious about that, he'll pardon Donald Trump. He'll also pardon his son. And then he'll put pressure on Georgia and New York to end this lawfare. If there is any silver lining tonight, it is that lawfare actually helps the person that you are trying to go after. We need a justice system. The lady needs to wear a blindfold for a reason. We got to stop this prosecution of our political enemies.
I mean, literally, his
He will
polls
think
went
will
up.
be the Attorney General.
Absolutely.
We need a really solid Attorney General.
John Ratcliffe.
Can do it.
Sorry, John. Sorry, John. I apologize. Sorry.
There will
Mike
be
Johnson.
a lot of talk about cabinet members, Treasury Secretary, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. You've got Tom Cotton, Mike Pompeo. You have
Well, you also have a Republican bench. And sometimes, like you were saying, that the Democratic Party is quite old right now. There's not a great bench, although there are some, and especially, but when you take governors out of states, then you leave a hole, and then you have to build up that bench back up. But the Republican bench is pretty strong right now.
there. You see Doug Burgum and Vivek Ramaswamy, Steve Wynn, his lovely wife Andrea. So people are there waiting for the former president. Britt would like to know where he is.
He's watching us.
Can we say tonight, though, Harold, that the melting pot still works? That Hispanics, Black Americans, working class Americans, you know, standing up, asking what their government is going to do, asking their government to see them and their concerns, that it works. That this is American democracy in our republic working.
The process works. I think as we get a final account of the numbers and the coalition that President Trump won with this time, I think it'll be one that will be for the history books. President Bush, I think, got 40+% of the Hispanic vote. George Bush, W. Bush, and it looks like President, at least the preliminary numbers suggest that. But as much as we talk about the unconventional aspect of this was conventional also. People believed him. He resonated with voters. He resonated with communities, rural communities, urban communities, suburban communities across the country. And I congratulate him tonight. I didn't want him to win, but I congratulate him on his victory and wish him the best for my country. And I can only hope that the concerns that are articulated by my dear friend Kellyanne, that they're not realized. I hope that my party and my friends, and for that matter, Republicans alike, that we're all able, once we get past the moment here, the 24 hours of excitement and joy and celebration, to understand that what we're really celebrating is the greatest experiment to have ever come to existence. It'll celebrate 250 years of its own existence in 2026. So those are my thoughts, brother.
I'm struck by the issue that of abortion, because it was talked about so much, and it was presented as if, you know, you're a woman and you are not going to support her, then you know, hate all women. They said that husbands, you know, were hateful towards their wives and the women in their lives if they didn't support this candidate. And I think it just goes to show that that kind of, you know, manipulating, it doesn't win.
And
people over.
narrowcasting us based on our gender. I think Kamala Harris was talking to us from the waist down, and I think Donald Trump was talking to us from the waist up as well. That's where my eyes, my ears, my heart, my brain, and my big mouth are. So, I mean, you got to talk to the woman in full. It's as if she doesn't know anything about the economy, or she doesn't care about what's going on in Ukraine or Israel or with Iran, or can't do the math on her grocery bill. It's an insult. Of course people care, but we care about many things. Just as we are not monolithic in life, we're not monolithic thinkers politically. But you know, Martha, something else happened. They put these ballot initiatives on to try to gin up turnout
They
for
did.
the Democrat. And they did that, and it kind of backfired. Look at this popular vote. And it backfired. The other thing is, if you've got 10 abortion ballot initiatives, you can vote your conscience on abortion, and you can vote separately or similarly for president.
Yeah, we're
The
seeing that.
presidential race was not a proxy for your position on abortion. By the way, somebody sent me the statistics. Over $500 million spent on ads about abortion. $500 million in this country out of the 16 billion Brett is talking about. 37 million for pro-lifers. The rest was the pro-choicers. I mean, it's just insane amount of money.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about markets tonight and the betting markets. Trey, at this point, it's at about 66% that Republicans hold on to the House as they're ticking down the possibilities, and they look at these coattails with not only the popular vote, but what could be and is shaping up to be an electoral college landslide. Should he control the White House, the Senate, and the House, like he did at the beginning in 2016, the possibilities open to a lot of things.
Yeah, I was there in 2016, and we had everything but an agenda. That mistake will not be made. Then quit using lawfare to divide the country. Quit using the justice system to try to win political races.
We are still following these Senate races, and as we wait for the former president, by the way, there's Nigel Farage there talking in the crowd there. Britt, this is remarkable in that some of these races were not even suspected to be close, expected to be close. Mike Rogers, he was a long shot at one point against Alyssa Slotkin.
Good candidate.
In Michigan, good candidate.
Strong candidate.
Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
Right. Attractive guy.
But Sam Brown was left essentially, he was not
He
going
was
to win.
not- He was not on anybody's list.
Nope.
Likely switch.
Not getting much money or attention.
No, but I think he's a competent candidate. Once again, we have.
By the way, there's Sam Brown right there, 48.1 to 47.2, 80% in over Jackie Rosen.
How much do you-
Renews our understanding that candidate quality matters.
Yep.
In this cycle, Republicans in the Senate races in particular fielded some pretty darn good candidates that gave them a shot in states where Republicans often face an uphill battle. And the fact that, it looks like it won't be just a squeaker, there might be a little margin there for Republicans in the Senate is testament to that.
Let's see what Wisconsin is, guys. Can we put up Havdi in Wisconsin?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President-elect Donald J. Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, and the Trump family, accompanied by
Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA.
This is what happens when the machine comes after you. What you've seen over the last several years, this is what it looks like. Couldn't stop him. He keeps going forward. He doesn't quit. He's the most resilient, hard-working man I've ever met in my life. His family are incredible people. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this. They deserve it as a family. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelk Boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, Bussin' with the Boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan. And thank you, America. Thank you. Have a good night.
That is a piece of work. No, he's really an amazing guy. But most of all, I want to thank the millions of hardworking Americans across the nation who have always been the heart and soul of this really great movement. We've been through so much together, and today you showed up in record numbers to deliver a victory like probably like no other. This was something special, and we're gonna pay you back. We're gonna do the best job. We're gonna turn it around. It's got to be turned around. It's got to be turned around fast, and we're gonna turn it around. We're gonna do it in every way, with so many ways, but we're gonna do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country. So I just want to say that on behalf of this great group of people, these are hard-working people. These are fantastic people, and we can add a few names like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He came in. And he's going to help make America healthy again. ISIS. We defeated ISIS in record time, but we had no wars. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. But this is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom. Together, we're going to unlock America's glorious destiny, and we're going to achieve the most incredible future for our people. Yesterday, as I stood at my last stop on the campaign trail, I'll never be doing a rally again. Can you believe it? I think we've done 900 rallies approximately from the, can you imagine? 901, something, a lot of rallies. And it was sad. Everybody was sad. Many people, I said, this is our last rally. But now we're going on to something that's far more important, because the rallies were used for us to be put in this position where we can really help our country. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make our country better than it ever has been. And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, a great, great first term. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping